Power, and I live here in Woodstock. I think everyone has fun and interesting stories, and I like to find out what they are. I'm in the Woodstock Community Television Studios here today with Wendy Wannop to talk about girls' sports, which Wendy has been involved in for a number of years. Wendy herself participates in many sports. She grew up mostly in Townsend, Massachusetts, where as a teen she played organized field hockey, basketball, and softball. At the University of Massachusetts, she played field hockey. Wendy and two of her sisters are in the Northeast Hall of Fame, the only three sisters that have ever been accorded that honor. After college and some travel and adventures, Wendy and her husband John moved here to Woodstock. You probably know Wendy, or at least have heard her name. She coached middle school field hockey for 10 years before taking over as coach of the high school team in 1995 when her mentor, the revered Yvonne Freitas, retired. Wendy coached the high school team for 18 years, racking up 198 wins versus 74 losses and 16 ties. Her teams won 3 state championships and were undefeated in 2 seasons. She also served for 7 years as the Woodstock High School athletic director. Wendy retired from coaching in 2012, but was persuaded to return in 2018. This past season, she led the team to the state semifinal and in the process coached her 200th win. Well, hello, Wendy.
Hello,
welcome,
Laura.
and thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
So field hockey obviously has been a very important part of your life. For those who aren't familiar, how would you describe the elements of that game?
I'd say best that it's a fast game. It is a little more difficult than it might appear. I think the first thing is that it's a stick that you can only play with one side, and so it takes skill. And because it's played on 100 yards, it takes a lot of endurance. And the stick is a very specific use of the ball, and I think that's what makes it unique.
So what attracted you to the game? What's fun about field hockey in particular?
I love it because it was a team sport. It was a great time to be able to be with your friends and to excel in athletics, and you're outside, you're running, and the accomplishment and the success of being able to win.
So you went to college at the University of Massachusetts, as I mentioned. Were you recruited there for sports?
To do it. No, and at that time, many years back here, there really was no recruiting for girls' sports. So you showed up, and there were cuts. There were cuts because of the number of girls, but recruited, no.
And so why did you decide to play field hockey at the college level?
I think just simply because it was something that I had always done sports in high school, and of the 3 sports, it was the one that I felt that I was the best at, and so I thought it was a great way to meet people at UMass as well.
And so how would you describe yourself as a player? Did you have a particular style of play, or what positions did you play?
For the most part, I was a forward. I guess I loved the thrill of being able to score. So I was never, I don't recall that I ever played defense. I also loved playing the wing because it's on the outside of the field, and that's where you move the ball fast down the side. And so for the most part, I did play up front.
So you were an aggressive player?
I'd say probably yes.
So looking back on your time as a college level and or a high school player, are there any moments on the field that stand out to you?
I would say in college, I had the opportunity not only to play at UMass, but I did a semester at Illinois State, and so it was just fun to be able to take what skills I had and be able to play on another team in another location. So I think that was probably a highlight of being able to play in 2 different places.
And were there any times that you felt were particularly challenging or discouraging as a player?
Do it. I think there are always challenges, and the challenge of trying to be better, trying to be faster, trying to be more successful on the field, because you have to work at it every day.
Was there any time that you said to yourself, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Things just aren't going well?
I don't think so, because it is what I did. So.
So your career included teaching, coaching, and managing personnel for businesses, as well as running a household and raising children. How did you come to be involved with girls field hockey here in Woodstock?
It was right after I moved here, and there was a program through the rec center, and I recall Nancy Nightingale approaching me and asking me if I would come officiate for the little girls' games. And so from there, I eventually got involved in the middle school, and my oldest was Melissa. And so as she grew into the program, because she was only 3 months old when we first moved to Woodstock, but as she became involved, I naturally became involved, and so I did do the middle school, and then on to the high school. Even though the boys didn't play, they actually spent a lot of time on the side of the field, because I would hire a babysitter when I was doing middle school, and the boys would come there after school, so they learned to play field hockey too.
And what is your coaching style? Is there some personal philosophy that you have that influences your approach and the choices that you make as a coach?
I would say that the one thing I try to do is to keep the practice moving. Mm-hmm. I don't like standing around myself, and I hate to see a line of girls standing, and so I try to do drills that break down and keep everybody engaged. And a lot of the times I focus on the goalie, because the goalie, if we're doing a scrimmage, doesn't necessarily get involved in the play. So I like to do a lot of small end of the field work. But I do think that it's important to work on the basics. It all comes down to the basics in any sport, and so we always start practice with doing things individually, and then in pairs, and then working towards doing team. Okay,
so so that, I guess, leads into my next question, which is how do you run a field hockey practice? What is it like?
Do it. There's always a conditioning piece, hoping that the girls are in condition when they come in the beginning of the season, but every day trying to condition and to gain. And so practices at the beginning would certainly be a lot of running and other short stop and go activities before even picking up the stick. But then from there, getting everybody involved, and the more times you touch the ball, the better you get.
Okay. And what do the girls do to prepare for games?
Do it. So it's sort of interesting whether it's a home or away. Music is a big thing. Music seems to be bigger than it used to be, and the girls, I don't know how they react to. They feel if they don't have their music, it doesn't get them set and organized. But we usually do try to have a set organized warm up, and so they go through the same warm up for conditioning, and then they do shuttles, or they do small drills, and then we shoot on the goalie, and as we get closer to game time.
And so when does the music come in?
At the beginning.
With their earphones?
To do it. No. They like the big speakers out on the field.
Oh, on the field. So while they're doing their warm up for the game, they're doing it to music.
Yes.
Do they do that during practice, or just games?
No. On an occasion, we might do something that includes music, or if we're doing something unusual or something fun, we would put music. But it's not included every day at practice.
And do they have a favorite song?
It's hard to know time to time. But let's just say they don't like my music.
So, do you get many girls on the Woodstock High School team that have never played field hockey?
We do get girls, and this year was exceptional that we had 4 upperclassmen who came out who had never played before, and that was very exciting. But girls pick it up all along the way. Some girls started back in 3rd grade with the rec center. Other girls, we had juniors and seniors who came out this year. And so there's always time to learn.
And so how do you integrate girls who have little experience or whose skills are unpolished?
Well, usually we try to give them some one-on-one sessions, and it's not bad to have everybody when you first come back at the end of the summer to review all the basics of holding the stick, and so you sort of introduce your new players into it at the same time. This year that didn't exactly work because we just didn't have time, and Jane Hoisington and I, who jumped into the program late, and these poor girls, they just they picked it right up because we just had to move forward, and they did a great job doing that.
So when you say one-on-one, you mean one-on-one with you as a coach?
As a coach, and one-on-one with another player.
With another player.
With another player, and being able to really break down and talk about the game and talk about the rules and talk about the different skills that you can learn. But we pretty much threw them into the pack this year.
So have you had girls on the team who felt that they were not athletic, but who subsequently discovered that they could contribute and have fun?
Well, they're all parts of the game. You'll have girls who feel that they don't like to run, so they don't feel that they should come out for this kind of a sport. And yet there's the other element of the girl who really loves to run, and there's a breakdown of different positions, it takes a particular type of girl who likes to be the goalie. Not everybody wants to stand inside that goal cage, and it takes the exceptional defensive players. And do they run as much as everybody else does at practice? Yes, but do they love to run? Probably not as much as some of the other girls. But over the years, there have been girls who have become great field hockey players as they've sort of found their home and found their niche.
And do you make cuts on the team?
We have never had a cut policy at Woodstock Union High School. There have been times where on our smaller teams with basketball, perhaps, where it became necessary. But in general, there had not been a formal cut policy, and so I had never cut anybody.
Great.
Yeah,
That's wonderful. So what have been some of the best moments you've experienced as a coach, and what made those moments special?
So I think the two standout years that we went undefeated, and they were 10 years apart, and to win the states. The divisions in the state, there are 3 divisions, and we had gone from being in Division 3 up to Division 2, back to Division 3, back to Division 2. And so, within those, we've had great success. And for some of the years that we didn't win a state, we had a great season. We had the year that we were seeded 9th going into playoffs, and we ended up going to the finals. That was exceptional for those girls to accomplish that. But the runner-ups, I had several times where we were back in the States, and we didn't win, but yet the experience for all the girls was just terrific.
And I'm wondering, is there anything the girls do off the field to promote camaraderie?
They do lots of things off the field. Sometimes I think they forget that they're playing field hockey because they like all the camaraderie. So they will do team dinners, and they've done overnights. We've gone to some of the college games over the years, and they do a lot. They do a lot in school too, where they do Big Sisters, Little Sisters. They do Sykes on game days. So they do, and they love that piece of it.
So it sounds like they have a lot of fun.
They do have a lot of fun. They do, and that is what the bottom line is to have fun.
Okay. So what have been the difficulties and challenges of coaching then?
I'll do it. So I think some of it often comes down to expectations of playing time. It's hard, yes, we have 11 players on the field, but not everybody can play all the time. And sometimes, you make decisions based on what your best judgment is to when somebody should play and not play, and that sometimes comes down to playing time can be a bit of a challenge. Trying to get the best playing surfaces and weather related. This year, the challenges were the field because we had such a rainy fall. By the end of the season, our poor field was so saturated, and so surfaces certainly are some of the challenges along the way. Getting girls to commit, it gets harder and harder to be able to commit because everybody has so much they're doing, and they're pulled in so many different directions. And so when a player is not at practice, everybody misses that person and they leave a hole. And so the commitment is a huge part of trying to get the girls to make it a priority.
And how many girls were on the team this year?
Enjoy it. So this year we had 30 girls out, and we had enough for a JV. There were years where I had 43 and 44 girls, and so that's when it got harder for playing time with that many girls. But at the same time, it was great to have that many girls, and we had a solid JV group at that. We're finding it field hockey in our area is harder for numbers, and so just getting JV games now has been a challenge, and yet that's the only way you get better varsity players, is for those girls to have the opportunity to play as a JV player. So we took whatever we could get this year for whether we played 11 on 11 or we played 7 on 7. If we didn't play 20 minutes, would a team play 10 minutes so that the JVs could get that experience.
And what about younger girls? Are there opportunities for younger girls here in Woodstock?
So it's great that our rec center has a program that starts usually 4th grade, sometimes 3rd grade, and we've always had that piece to the program, and then that we have the middle school program as well. Leanne Tapley coached this year for the middle school, and she had 18, and I think that there's about the same number for the younger program. And then this year we also offered 2 clinics that went down to kindergarten, and in the hopes of maybe being able to encourage the younger girls to play, which we had never done before. We'd never gone that early, and the 2 clinics and the young girls had a blast.
Great.
So.
And with the 30 girls on the team this year, everybody did get an opportunity to play, right?
Yes.
Although some more than others.
Yep, absolutely.
Great.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, thinking about your years as a coach, what are you most proud of?
Just having had the opportunity to work with the girls. You know, coming back this year was just a great opportunity, because I had forgotten the piece that I liked probably the most was just working with these girls. You know, their fresh ideas and their enthusiasm for the game, and the teamwork that they do. It was refreshing to be part of that again.
And I'm sure with 30 girls you have many different personalities. Any challenges in managing all those different personalities?
There always are challenges with that. Yes, because you have girls who sometimes lead. You have sometimes girls who are followers. You'd like everybody to work together, and sometimes you have situations where girls aren't as patient with others. But yes, there definitely are a lot of challenges there.
So are there any wins that you can think of that were particularly satisfying, or losses that were particularly difficult?
Good. So I think the biggest win was over our state rival of Mount Abe when in 2007, when we did beat them 5-0, and that's a big score in field hockey, and it was 0 at halftime. And so Mount Abe always has outstanding teams, and they had always been somebody that we met in the playoffs. So I think that particular win that time. I think the heartbreaking one was the year that we were 9th and we lost in overtime to Windsor in the state finals, and that was a tough one.
You were the 9th seed?
We were the 9th seed, and we made it to the finals, and then we lost in overtime, and it was to Windsor, who is our other, close rival in the era here. So those are probably the 2 that
stand out.
Yep.
So why should girls be interested in playing field hockey? Why is it valuable?
I think playing field hockey is valuable, as well as any other the sports that the girls are playing, because what I love about it is that it gives them a venue to learn to work together and to organize. And I think that when the girls play, as I did with my own children, was that their academics, which come first, are organized, and they're much more attentive to their academics, because they know that they have to get the work done, because they then have their practice time and their game time. And I think that everything that they do on the field carries over into their academics and into life beyond. It's being on time, it's being committed, it's getting things done, and it's working with others. And I hope that they take something from the field on through life.
So if a girl was interested in coming out for the field hockey team, how would you recommend that she prepare?
I'm gonna do it. So during the summer times, over the years, I would have girls who perhaps hadn't done any sports, and I would do it. The first thing is being in condition, because everything is easier when you're in condition. So if you can run and the combinations of being able to do some sort of a distance run versus the short runs, then the stick work becomes easier. If you're struggling because you're tired and then your muscles begin to hurt, or the potential of getting injured, then that makes the stick work harder to do. So that's the first thing that the girls all need to focus on, and then from there the stick work becomes much more fun.
Okay, but if they don't know anything about field hockey, they can count on learning that from you?
Absolutely, absolutely. And their friends and the other teammates make great teachers. I mean, I saw that when we did the clinics for the little girls. My girls ran the stations, and they did a great job.
Right.
Puts them in the role of a teacher.
Now, you retired from coaching in 2012, but you came back and you coached the 2018 team. What are your plans going forward?
Well, this was something that was asked of Jane Hoisington and myself at the banquet, and both Jane and I thoroughly enjoyed the season. Jane works at the school, and so she was tremendous in the connection to the things that we need to do for school, and then even last summer getting the equipment out and getting the list of girls who were cleared and just all the pieces. And so she was tremendous, and she and I had worked together for 5 years before that, so the combination worked really well. We had some parents who asked at our banquet, and Jane and I had actually talked before that, and we enjoyed it so much that we said that we would come back and do it. And we thought about the younger girls. Annie Doughton had coached for the last 3 years. She'd done a great job, but she took another teaching opportunity, which didn't allow her to coach this year. And so if Jane and I didn't do that, our juniors would have had 3 different coaches in their 4 years. And I just thought that was hard for the girls to have to do that. And, every time you get somebody different, it took the girls a good portion, if not all, the season to get used to Jane and myself after having been with Annie for a few years. And there's a great talent, and it was just such a nice group of girls. We just thought, okay. Bearing any unforeseen situations that we can't do it, we said we would come back.
Great. So we'll see you on the field in 2019 then, right?
Yes.
So you, as an adult, you've continued to be active. What sports do you personally participate in?
I like my tennis. Love my volleyball with the ladies that we play every week, the Uncommon Hogwash group that I joined well over 25 years ago. And now I play ice hockey and part of the Puck Hog ladies group.
Great. So any parting thoughts?
I'll do it. Oh, it's been a pleasure. I think this was a great idea. There was there are a lot of people in Woodstock who are sports background, and I just privileged that you asked me. Wow. Thanks.
I'm Laura Power. I'm here at Woodstock Community Television. Thank you very much, Wendy Wannop, for being with us today and talking with us about girls' sports.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.